And we're recording.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so I didn't tell you this because I waited for the recorder to come on, although I'm sure you probably already know.
I was thinking, woo, the recorder.
The recorder.
Playing Titanic or some shit.
Titanic, I'm thinking of, what is it? Hot cross buns.
Yes.
Hot cross buns.
I used to play the Titanic on it.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, stop. Shake off those sillies, girl. Okay, so for this one, I'm in a place, this topic is when we're going to talk to the space doctor. And I'm in a place right now of kind of trying to grow my balls and be more confident in who I am and my choices and my topics and stuff. So sometimes I'll throw some suggestions at Heather and, she rolls with them, but I'll often defer to her because she's the one that's, feeling and, connects. It's her body that we use. So I never really do that. And if you remember from last week when I thought that you were hooking up with Avery's mom and you thought I was hooking up, I didn't know that I had that power, even though, I know I do. Yeah. So this is the first time that it's like all on me. Like, you're like, you do whatever you want and I'll show up. And I was like, I'm trying to, grow my power. And I was like, I stuck my foot in my mouth because I don't know how to do this. I'm not confident. I don't know who to ask. So for the past several days, I'm like, space doctor, we need a space doctor. I'm asking all of the, M6 to go get me one. And I have been relentless ringing the doorbell over there. So I was so excited when H said just a few minutes ago that somebody was here. I did it!
You did it! Yay! Yeah, he's finds it funny you call him a space doctor.
It's just Kari's vernacular. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start with that.
Well, he's a man, first off. Yeah. He says that's important. He's very dry humor. I'm gonna like this guy. So where do you work at exactly? Do you work on a planet? No. Or work on a ship? So he is in space. So he's like, so you're right, I am a space doctor.
There you go.
I'm in space. He says, what species are you? First off, go back. I'm a mixture of a Pleaidian and I don't know what that species is. It's like a Hyadean, Hyadean, I don't know.
All right,
starts with an H. Starts with an H. And he says he's been a doctor for a few years. Are you still working as one? Not anymore. He's like retired kind of thing.
Okay.
Or he's starting to go down that route of like retiring. So he's still working. It's just like he's in that process of leaving his post. So what ship is it what I am assuming it is where it's one of those like mother city ships where it's all these different species? He finds it interesting we call it that. He's like, so that's what you call it. Yes, there's different species. We're all within the same grouping. So what do you mean by that? Like we're all friends, like alliance thing? He says yes. There's many of us on this ship, and so I am trained to handle different varieties of species. But there's usually, it's not that I can treat all of them. There's usually a group that I tend to stick with, like a certain type. It could be like some doctors are trained to handle like humans on top of Pleaidians on top of, maybe a third species, but they stay within those three. And then he says, yeah, it's exactly like that. So it changes between which doctor and what would be that word? Their specialty is.
Expertise?
Yeah, their expertise.
I wondered about that, and Sam got a little giggle because I was like, is it like a veterinarian and they have to know all of them?
He's getting a good kick out of it too. He's laughing. Says no, it would be impossible. I mean, it's possible, but why would you try to strain yourself like that? You can't get good at one thing if you're spread yourself out to everything. Right. So what species do you work with? He says obviously Pleaidian and Hyadean, I don't know. Hyadean, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that shit.
We're gonna get some info on that, even if we can't say it. We like new stuff. And what's the other one? Did you say human?
Yes, he says he works with humans too. He works with those three. They're very much similar. He says every once in a while I'll get a Nordic, like a different type, because they're so similar in body structure.
Okay.
So I can take those ones in. Would you work on a Sarsar or Tall White? No, that's totally different department.
Interesting. And one of the questions from somebody else was about humans. And in my mind, I'm like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm thinking, there we go again, making it all about us. Because who's to say that a doctor comes in that knows anything about humans, Yeah. So it's interesting that he came because he does know about them. Well, why would you have an occasion to work on a human?
He says when one's brought to me. He says he doesn't oversee why.
Okay.
He says sometimes there's some patients, I have regulars who are human. Every doctor has their regulars. Sometimes I get some new patients coming through. But he says it's really no different than how your doctors operate. You have your primary doctor, and that's the one you usually see. So I have those kinds of patients. I'm the person that they usually see.
Okay.
He says, with the human, there's those I'll ask to see because it's been a while and I want to do a checkup on them. Aww. And these humans, why do you have contact with these humans? Why are you their doctor in the first place?
That's what I'd like to know.
He says, that's a good question. A lot of humans have contact with us, like the species, the alliance itself. And with that, he's joking, saying, comes free healthcare.
There it is. I'm looking for a new doctor.
He said, I'd take you in if I wasn't retiring. There's no new patients. He says, but I can reference you to someone.
Yes, please do. Put me on the list.
He says, these humans, they work with different extraterrestrial species within this alliance, and they oftentimes are on that ship but the meeting is to not only, seeing with that doctor. That's what I mean by meeting.
Okay.
Meeting with that doctor and getting that checkup. It's not only for that individual's health. He's going to go into like the spiritual answer for it, but it's also for the health of the other people on the ship as well, because it could be that you're carrying something that could spread to someone else or to another human that's on that ship. So he's saying, for instance, you have this virus going on. We have to make sure no other human that's on that ship is carrying it either. It could spread to another human. Not that we can get it, because we can't, unless we're human hybrid. There could be a possibility. So he's saying it's just small things like that. We just don't want to cause illnesses to spread. And he says also more of a spiritual type answer is that the people in contact with beings like that, with that alliance oftentimes they're doing work for the alliance on Earth. Some of them are aware of it, some of them are not. What they say, the star seed shit, and we talked about that in our last video. Doesn't literally mean you're an alien, because you're obviously fucking human, but but it's like you have the cognitive, that, what was that, the incarnated soul of an extraterrestrial?
Right.
Anyway, so he's kind of like, what are you talking about? It's a whole different discussion. It's a whole other thing. It was a whole different thing. Different day.
Watch last week's, you'll get it.
Yeah, you gotta watch last week's video. He says, I'll make sure to do that. I'll pencil that in.
Funny. Make an appointment.
And he says, so those people, we've agreed, like you could say, like a spiritual contract, to help with their bodies in a way that's not pervasive. So it's not, say they have like an organ that's about to fail. Of course, they're not going to intercede on that exactly. They said it's very rare if we would, because oftentimes that's something we want to leave up to your human doctors. That's something your human doctors can do. There's very rare accounts where we've healed something that was very serious, like cancer or something. That's he's saying that's usually something big like that is something that you already were self-aware of, what you would call spiritual contracts. It says we call them something different. We think of them a little differently. but it's around the same principle, and we're not going to interfere with that.
Right.
He's saying, so our rule of thumb is if the humans have the possibility to do it, and it's not that big of a surgery that would cause like a huge change in their life, then we would do it. And we'll take care of it. But if it's something big, then we're not going to touch it. We're going to allow your doctors to take care of it.
Okay. So why would you do it though? And by that, I mean, like how I got you over here today, when I just put feelers out and said, is there a space doctor that can help me? I mean,
He says not always are we going to help you. We're not there to be your guardians. He said that's not our job.
But how does that connection make?
He says, I mean, you could think of it like, because we're not here to be your saviors. He says, so it's usually because you already have contact with us, and you're doing work for us, and we could see that this isn't going to help you in any way. It might impede on your mission. So we're there to just help you because you're already helping us. So,
Got it. Do you mind trying to explain your concept or definition or whatever of what we refer to as a soul contract? What's the difference in your culture? I know that's not doctory, but I'm curious.
The only difference is that we don't think of it as something outside yourself. Humans think of it as something they agree to, and it's something up here. It's something
guilty
somewhere else apart from you. This is very much a part of you. It's no different than you agreeing to sign a contract in person with somebody that you're fully cognitive of. So, and we don't call them contracts. They're just soul missions, he says, and everyone has their own mission. It just makes it sound less woo-woo and less like, how some people say, well, that's my contract to do that. They make it feel like it's special. To them, nobody's contract is special. It's just, that's just what you came here to do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. And contract is it's like because we also have binding contract. It feels like it's official and unwavering, but that's not true.
No, he said nothing's official.
Right.
Nothing official.
So how does one, in the ship that you're on, it was Heather correct in that it's like a city ship and not like a hospital ship?
Right. It's not just a hospital. There's a hospital on the ship, and that's where I work.
All right. And how because here on Earth, we have to go and take a bunch of classes and do all this stuff to become a doctor. How'd you get your medical degree? Just kidding.
He's joking. He's like, I have it on a plaque hanging on a wall. He says, no, I had to do years of studying. You do apprenticing. So you study under somebody. So he said, there is a few years of studying books. He's like, we don't have literal books. There's different ways that we read it. But, and then we observe other people doing surgeries. We observe other people doing their own checkups and things like that. And then we start apprenticing. So we do more hands-on. So like the doctor will need you to inject something into a vein, or it's small things, and it slowly builds up.
Okay. All right. I'm going to bust out some questions, even my own. Oh, you had one. Do you guys, what's your take? Do you use vaccinations?
We do use vaccinations.
Do you have controversy about them like we do?
No, we don't. So he's just leaving it like that. I don't think he wants to address any of
it. Yeah, I know that is controversial, and we at Stardust are not controversial girls. Okay, so I'm looking up. I just took screenshots of the pictures. Questions. Okay, one of them too, and I'm going to go ahead and address it because it's first on my list here. If you have any input, but somebody posted that video about the definition of what life is. How would you define life, like living, what it means to be alive?
He says an energy life source, so anything that has an energy life source, which is everything, has it. So everything is a form of life.
I like that. I had just a feel that might be his answer. Okay, so I want to go the right way with these.
He's saying that you humans may have a different definition because your science can't prove energy life source exactly. So and there's debate about it. So he's very self-aware of what he says. Oh yes, I'm very self-aware of what humans and their science, their medical field, like where they're at. So
why do you know that? And is that the reason you came to me,
he
us?
says, yes, it's exactly why I came. I think I would be able to better serve these questions because I understand the other side. It's just something with I wanted to better understand my human patients. So I studied their way of life and where they're at in their knowledge, so that I can help them, my patients, better, my human patients. He said only had like a few, like 3 of them or something. It wasn't a lot.
Okay. And I'm going to deviate just for a sec because I'm so interested in this. And I know other people in my situation will appreciate this too. So, you heard me that I was clueless and I didn't know how to call you. Didn't have your email address. So what is it like for you when I put that, that feeler out? How do you answer that call?
It was a group of us that felt it. All of us felt it. And then we decided who would answer it.
So you were the lucky boy.
Right. He says I was the lucky boy, lucky man. He says that because I'm wondering, well, then was she just feeling those, the energy she was sending out to request a space doctor? Was it just heard by you guys, or do you know if it would be heard by others who aren't on this ship of yours?
Yes.
He says, yes, they could have been heard by others, and maybe they reached out. And because I felt there were others interested as well who weren't on the ship, who were from another species or another place altogether. He said, but it was ultimately up to the medium, me, who chose who they best aligned with. So I guess you aligned with me.
Oh, okay. That is very interesting. I was curious. How did that get narrowed down to this? Because I'm sure you're not the only space doctor out there.
No.
Okay. Let's see. I have so many questions, and I really I might like jump around with them. Because it's my interview and I get to. So what is somebody wants to know, what is your most used type of healing? Is it surgeries, energy, a drug?
A little of everything. He says that our science has incorporated energy healing. Mm-hmm. He didn't say that exact word, but it's pretty much what he said. Energy healing with, like the physical kind of shit. He said, oftentimes what I find is that the emotional healing is what's needed first, because that's what's spurring on the physical ailment. Your doctors have yet to really, they're starting to find that connection. They're still very young in that department. He says that, but my area of expertise is not the emotional. So I'll reference someone to a specialist in that area. He talks so sciencey, it's kind of boring. He's so funny. He's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Have to throw some jokes in there for Heather.
He's going like this, like, okay, dude, so I'm going to take you to the feeler guy.
Funny, I like him. Do we know each other from somewhere else?
He says no.
Okay.
He's talking about, one of his patients was like a surfer dude. He called himself a surfer dude. So he's like, so I'm familiar with some of the slang.
Gnarly. I love surfers.
He would say gnarly too. Make him laugh.
So funny. Okay. I kind of asked that question up. I mean, let's see what Patricia wanted to know about how they work on humans. So I already did that one. Okay. Ooh, do your ethics differ from human doctors' ethics, or even
of course
with them?
He says, of course. He says, however, I am familiar with doctors, most of them, their primary focus is to heal the patient and care for the patient, keep them safe.
Yeah.
And that's what we do as well. We don't have any of the controversies surrounded around the medical field, because a lot of humans, they are obsessed with power and greed. So not all doctors are in tune with those ethics.
Okay.
He's saying, but I don't want to scare any humans watching this because I know how sensitive everyone is about the medical field right now. But he says, but I'm seeing it as it's serving a purpose to help spur on more growth in the medical community and bring about some changes that need to happen, and also some things that need to go back to the way they were. So he's saying that this is not me agreeing with either side. He said, I just want to point that out.
Okay.
I'm not agreeing for or against anything. Because I don't involve myself in human politics.
I don't either.
It's like he said, rudimentary or like, barbaric or whatever.
Preschool.
Yes. He says it's preschool matters. I'm not going to participate in a fight over a ball.
Right.
I forgot where he was going with this. Totally lost him for a second.
Well, I really like that he immediately went to finding, my favorite, the light behind the dark. And he's like, I don't see it as anything but a way to propel them, forward. So I like that. There's always, a benefit somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know, you can't give up your secrets. However, some of your secrets have got to be like way above our head. So maybe you can share one of those, like what's an advanced procedure that you might do that would be like, no way.
He says it's not so much advanced or a secret, and that you just don't have the technology yet. So I'm more than welcome to share it with you.
Okay.
He says that they have a type of scanner, and he's like pointing at me. He's like, you've been in this before. And it can detect everything to the smallest little molecule, he says, in your body. And it can detect where your problem is, even if you don't feel it yourself. So we're able to find a solution so much quicker before the problem becomes a bigger issue. So there's a lot of small ailments that we've had fixed before they became a bigger problem. He says that he says I was looking over my chart before I he says, I hope
Did you work on her before? Are you her doctor?
No, I've never been a doctor, although I would have liked to. It would have been fun. He says that he looked over my chart and he gained access. Like, they're not super secretive like we have to be, where you can't share information.
Right. He's not going to get sued. I got it.
Right. It's not HIPAA. They don't have HIPAA.
There's no confidentiality agreements. Yeah. You didn't sign the paper, Heather.
My fucking bad. He says, yeah, you didn't sign the contract, so I can just share information anywhere. He says that that she has heart problems. She's got stomach problems. She has issues in her knees and her joints. So her bigger issues. Thanks for just throwing my shit out there. He's like, you're the one saying it.
Oh, did you look at my chart? I want to know.
He says that you don't have a chart.
See, I got the human doctors cutting me up with their old-fashioned scalpels.
He says, oh, yeah, we don't cut people open. So the scan allows us to see all those issues that are going on inside her body. And then we're able to fix it with the same scanner. Sometimes we utilize a different type of, it's more of like a handheld device. It's attached to something, but it's much more, he's showing me what the scanner looks like. I've seen it before. I want to draw it for you, but I'm really bad at drawing, but we'll see what I can do.
You are a little bad at drawing. It's that preschooler in you.
Yeah. But it looks like an MRI machine.
Okay.
Maybe I could just describe it. It looks like an MRI machine, but it's portable and that you can move it. You yourself doesn't have to go inside of it. It moves to fit around you. He says, I've never seen your MRI machines. So I'm going to have to take a look at those.
I'll probably have one soon. You come along.
Okay. And that's what's able to pick up on all the small little things. It's like we can change its setting to see which details we want to see. Do we want to see on the molecular level? Do you want to see on the muscles? Do we want to see the nerves?
Interesting.
So it's an all-in-one scan, whereas you guys have to go to different types of scans. We have it all in one place, and it can actually go into much more detail than your scans can. And then after that, that's not what fixes you, is that. So if it's something physical, we don't cut you open. We don't have to do that anymore. Not unless we're needing to take something out. It's very rare we have to cut someone open. We're usually really good at preventative measures,
Yeah,
preventative
sounds
care.
like it.
So he says that it's like this handheld, looks like a little ray gun kind of thing. But it's big. I don't know how to describe it, but it's attached to something.
Okay.
But it's movable. You can move it around freely. It's a long cord it's attached to. And it focuses on whatever section they're trying to heal, and they just put it over that, and that's what heals it. It's like, and he says that itself is something, a technology you guys don't have.
Uh-huh.
He's saying you could say it's just energy, he says, but it's less spiritual than that. It's more physical. It's more of a science type thing.
So your machine like manufactures this healing energy, sort of?
Yes. He says yes, you can think of it like that. I want to say ultraviolet rays, but that doesn't sound right. He says it's something similar along those lines of it's kind of a ray. It's like a light, or but your ultraviolet rays that you would use aren't nearly as strong or powerful enough to be able to heal what we're able to heal with ours. But he says that's what we use to heal you. That's all we need, really.
And what is there, like, on Earth, we have a common problem is a broken bone or maybe cancer. What is like a common thing that is there something that you work on more often than not?
He says it depends on the species. So it's different. We do get colds, our own little versions of colds. Every species has their version of a cold. It's not nearly the same. So you're not going to get sick if you're standing next to a Pleaidian who has a cold, because it's not those same germs, bacteria is not going to be able to transfer over to you. He's saying no different than if your dog were to have a cold, you're not going to get the same cold from your dog. He says that usually there's not a lot of ailments, usually something small like cold or something, or someone's under a lot of stress. So he says, I usually don't see a lot of patients a whole lot for physical ailments. I usually do checkups because we do preventative care. So my services for the serious stuff isn't necessarily needed all the time. I mostly work that on the humans. Humans need it more.
Okay. That is so interesting. This is interesting. So let's see, here's a question. Because is preventative. Do you ever have to deal with things like, for example, somebody wants to know if somebody was blind, would you be able to help them see again with your medicine?
He's asking, were they born blind or they become blind from an accident?
Either one.
Blindness, that's something we would have to ask, is it stemming from something from the brain? Is it a brain injury, or is it something more with the eye itself? Because then that would require a different kind of surgery. He says that my little device thing probably won't be able to fix that. He says, but it will be able to be fixed. I just got to know where it's stemming from, and then we'll be able to fix it.
So we know that humans have blindness. Would, say, a Pleaidian have blindness, like outside of like an injury?
Not born blind, no. Because if the child were in development because they're grown outside the womb, we'd be able to see much easier their development process. This may sound heartless, but if a child we know is going to be born with a serious ailment that's going to render them a not high quality of life, we terminate the pregnancy. We get rid of the embryo and we start all over again. Humans, you think differently because you have to carry that child for full term. You're carrying that life inside you, which is so much different. But how we think of it is quality over quantity. And that soul that would have attached to that body is going to be thankful it's going to be found on a different body. It's going to attach itself to a new body. That's going to be better for it. He's saying, so it's not to come off heartless. It's just our way.
Well, that's how the Sarsar were. So we had to have this conversation, or we did have this conversation before, because, well, me personally, I'm going to speak for both of us, H, we don't want to seem insensitive, but I totally get that concept. In fact, in our human bodies, nature will do that for us many times, and we'll miscarry and not even know it half the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, one good
he
one
says,
this
yes,
time.
humans have to believe on a spiritual level. It's decided for them when they miscarry. He's saying he personally believes in a more like scientific approach to it rather than a woo-woo answer for it, I would say. He says that you could definitely think of it as a spiritual answer. An angel came to terminate the pregnancy for you because it wasn't meant for you, or God. He says,
I think
but
it's just pure biology myself.
Yeah, he says that's what I think. That's just the body rejecting it because it's not working out. It's something more on a biological level rather than a ghost came down to get rid of it. Like that you said, ghost.
It was really funny. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, H and I are pretty non-controversial, so you can do whatever you want with this question. But are you helping in any way with the coronavirus our species is dealing with right now? Or do you have any input?
Nope. He said, my answer still stands from before. We're not here to be your saviors. You can protect and take care of yourselves.
Okay.
He says that you've dealt with so much worse before, have come out on top. And now you have way more technology now that's much more advanced than it was before. You're handling it just fine.
Look at him finding the silver linings. I'm keeping you. What am I going to call you? I can't call you Space Doctor forever, or can I?
How about Ronald? I don't know.
Dr. Ronald. Okay, Dr. Ron.
Actually, yeah, Dr. Ron was my very first doctor. He helped deliver me.
Okay. Is that good, Dr. Ron?
So sure.
Okay, let's see.
Dr. Ron.
And so on your ship in your hospital, so there is a reasonable assumption based on what you said already that there's other races of doctors that will specialize on those other races. Like you're Pleaidian. Okay.
Yes. And he says, not my hospital. It says.
Well, the one that you go to.
Yeah.
Not the one you own.
He says, I don't own anything.
Well, that's interesting too. I know that's not, doctory, but why do you not own anything? Is that just the way
have
of your
no
people?
need to. Yeah, I have no need to own anything. Everything I need is already given. So I don't.
That reminds me of the Stardusters closet. It's the community closet. They don't own anything. They just go pick out their spacesuit for the day.
He said something offhand like, "Oh, that's different." I don't know how. But
all right.
He's going on. Hold on.
Oh.
It says because they live on a base, and so they have to live in a more communal setting because they're limited on their resources.
Okay. They might do it anyway. I don't know.
Do not.
Okay, so somebody wants to know about, do you guys, because you said you deal with or work with physical, spiritual, energy, all different ways, modalities of healing. One of the ways that we use, what we use to heal is medicine. Do any of your patients, is it possible for them to have issues with addiction to the medications?
No, because addiction stems from an emotional place.
Okay.
And oftentimes the emotional strain doesn't go that far that it would lead to the symptom of addiction.
Okay. So that never happens.
No,
because I was going to ask if it did, what would you do? But there isn't a what if it did. Okay. Switching gears a little bit, which is do you ever deal with delivering babies? Is that ever something you do?
Yes, I've delivered a baby before. It's rare. But the mother chose to carry full term. That was an exciting moment for me because it's so rare. And all the doctors wanted to be part of this, but it was my patient. So I got to be the one to deliver, but everyone else got to watch, be in the room.
You're the lucky man twice then.
Yes. Hey, lucky man twice. Lucky man Jones.
So what was this mama? What race was she?
Pleaidian.
And what do newborn babies eat? Just mama milk?
No, we gave her supplements, they're kind of like baby formula.
Okay.
But he's really excited about talking about the delivery, holding the baby in his arms when it first came out. He said it was gross, but it was not gross, but he didn't say that, but it was, it is. Yeah.
It's the grossest thing you'll ever do as a girl or a human. It's gross.
But he says it was so magical. He loved to hold that life in his hands. So it's something he'll always cherish.
So because our biologies are similar, would it be very comparable to a human birth?
Yes. With the Pleaidian, yes. Very similar. Almost exact, I would say. Almost
What's a gestation time for a Pleiadian baby?
Jesus fucking Christ. Like a couple of years or something.
Fuck. Oh my God.
He says it's a slow process. He says so we live for such a long time. It makes sense that gestation takes just as long.
Whew. Okay.
I can't imagine being pregnant that long.
I'd
kill myself.
I know. Don't listen to her. She's just kidding.
I'm just kidding. I say that about everything. You know how some people say fuck or Jesus Christ. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Every minor inconvenience. Right. The other day I couldn't get the stove to turn on because it's old, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
That's the only solution. Okay, so he doesn't. Well, you know, we're a rare breed here. So is it just like, I'm going to go back to how you called the Sarsa, the communal life. You know, they don't have a wage, they don't make money. So is it basically like that? It's just an exchange. Just everybody has a position, or do you have a paycheck?
We don't have a paycheck
if you don't own anything.
I own my own clothes, I would say,
okay,
but I don't have to buy them, and I don't have the need to consume more than what I need. That's a human construct. And I do think it stems from the money concept that you have this need for consumerism. When you take all that away and you just have all your needs met, there's no need for the wants anymore.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting? Like, wonder if we didn't have any money to spend, then there'd be no commercials on TV, and we wouldn't get fed that we need this in order to be happy and beautiful.
He says, yes, it's deeply suited in your psychology. It's like it hits you in the head here, makes you want to buy things you don't want. I'm gonna get my nachos. I just thought about my nachos.
Got them for free though.
I know, because I fucked up my order, so now I'm getting free nachos for dinner. I ate quinoa cakes for lunch, so I deserve some nachos.
There you go. Eat a few nachos, girl.
No, they're not healthy, but they're worth it, and it's gonna be okay. He says,
you know,
I don't know about your body.
The secret is to not have guilt about it, to make sure you enjoy every last bite of that thing.
The doctor would just look at you like, that's not what that is, but okay. Like,
no, that is. This is what Dr. Kari is prescribing.
He says, okay, where did you go to school?
The School of Hard Knocks. No, but don't be guilty about your food. You enjoy it.
I will. He's encouraging me. Don't listen to her. I want you to take care of your, like, talking about my diet and eating healthy. And
I'm going to go with him on that. But for real, I did learn, it's like, if you're going to do that anyway, then why have the added thing of the guilt? If you're going to break that rule, then enjoy it wholeheartedly.
I so agree with you, which is why I know I'm channeling, because he so strongly disagrees with the both of us. And it's great.
What do you know? Just kidding.
What do you know, you space doctor?
It's because you got a plaque on your wall. Just kidding.
It's a shiny plaque. It's hieroglyphic.
Well, okay, it's shiny, so you got me there. Okay, so do you do transplants of organs? Is that something, or because you're so preventative that doesn't really?
That sometimes needs to happen. Sometimes an organ, very rarely, it's only happened maybe a few times. I personally have never had to do this, but sometimes organs do fail. And it mostly happens in the older bodies, the older the person gets. And sometimes they want to prolong their life. So we'll exchange out the organ for another. However, we don't need a donor for it. We can create organs. We can grow them. But it's not necessarily needed. It's mostly in the older bodies, and people that wants to prolong their body's health will take it.
So do you create organs in a similar way that our doctors are maybe sort of doing right now? I don't know.
Yes, they're is very, he's saying a rudimentary.
Okay.
It's not a word I would fucking use. He said the very beginning stages, but it's along the same concept. Same. Okay. We're not growing it on other animals first and then chopping it off. It's really just its own biological form that's formed in a, he says you could, like a box, but okay. It's not just a box. The box itself is what's needed.
It's the greenhouse.
Yes.
Organ greenhouse.
It's the organ greenhouse. It takes months for it to form, but it's no different. Think of it as a pregnancy. It takes 10 months for it to grow, and we're only, instead of growing a whole baby, a whole body, we're just wanting to focus on one organ that we're growing.
Interesting. So would you consider that organ to be life with consciousness?
He says I would. Maybe not a consciousness, but it is a life force.
Okay. Interesting. I bet you could channel, though. I channeled all my organs.
He says that's an odd concept I would never think of doing. And he says, but you could talk to your organs. In fact, I would encourage people to talk to their bodies more. It may produce better health mentally and emotionally about yourself, therefore affecting you physically.
That is a good idea. In fact, the next question was any suggestions that will help us. Well, she wanted to know in the medical field, but that's just medical in general. But maybe this person practices medicine. So do you have any suggestions that might help?
Listen to your patients better. He says, when a patient says, and this is what your doctors need to do across the board, when a patient says, I feel it's this, don't put your expertise before their own body. He says, I know that you have your process, your due diligence that you do. You want to first do the blood test. He says, I get that. You want to go through and see if it's something minor first. He says, but the line of thinking isn't logical, because if it is something big, that means you have to act now. So it's best to start, I personally, what we do is we start big, then go down. We go the opposite way versus finding if it's something common first versus going up. He said, the only reason why you do it this way is because the patient is spending money as well as the hospital. Because money is involved, you're doing things, in my opinion, backwards.
Economically,
So he says that listen to your patient. Your patient feels it's an organ that's hurting and you think it's just dehydration. Listen to the patient. Don't try to fix a small problem, because it takes time for dehydration to go away. But in the meantime, if it is something bigger, they're getting worse.
Yes.
It's becoming more serious. He says, but you don't have the technology to be able to detect something so quickly. It takes a long time for you guys to get to a diagnosis. I've noticed that. It takes weeks. It takes hours sometimes. Something that would have taken me a second to find, it's taking you weeks to find. So he says, my advice, just listen to the patient more. Really listen to them. If they say it's something, don't suggest, no, you have it wrong. It's this, because they know their body better than you do.
I'm gonna elaborate on that, because remember all my troubles when I had that, my stomach's hurting so bad. And she's like, go take some Pepto-Bismol. Well, later that night, I was in the hospital having that emergency appendectomy, and I was curled up in a ball in pain for hours.
He says, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. And not every human doctor is like this. I'm only saying this because I see this so often with my human patients that I've had. Their doctors aren't listening to them. So it leads me to believe that most are not listening to their patients, which I understand that you do have your degree, you do know more. So yes, that is a fact. He says, however, it's almost as if some doctors, not all of them, have forgotten to listen to the patient and just adhere strictly to what is logic. And not all the time can logic be applied to fixing somebody, to
they come in with these filters and go with them because it worked before, whatever it was. And I like too what you said about talk to your body and stuff. I have one of my boys is he takes medication, and I always tell him it's your body. I can't tell you how you're supposed to feel, so you be self-aware. I really like to give him that power, so I'm on board with him on that one too. Okay, let's see here. Can you do things like this is weird. Can you regrow a limb or teeth? Are you sea stars? Just kidding.
No. Why would we need to regrow any of those things? So no.
Well, because some people.
Well, we could.
Injuries.
I've never met anyone who's lost a leg. I would imagine we can't regrow someone's leg for them. This is, that would be interesting to see, because we haven't had the need to do that. So he says that I would imagine we'd apply the same logic that we would to growing a new organ.
Okay, because here we would give them a prosthetic, like slap on a robot leg or something.
Yes, and he says that too. We could do that, but our prosthetic legs would be much better.
I bet.
But we would want them to try and keep their natural body as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never witnessed that issue before. I've never heard of that issue where someone lost their leg.
Well, I hope you don't.
I've dealt with broken bones.
And is that, so you just cast it in your own version of a cast, or do you kind of like zap it and glue it back together?
It takes a few hours, he says. He's showing me. He wants to show me it. We had their legs suspended. He's talking about something specific, a specific memory. We had their leg. It was their shin, the shin part.
Okay.
The lower leg was broken. They had it hanging up. And we're doing tests on it. Meanwhile, we're administering pain medication. We had to do surgery. We had to reconnect the bones to each other because they completely broke. We had to do reconstructive surgery. Yes.
Okay.
And during that time, the person couldn't move. They're bedridden for weeks. Oh. And then after that, we wrapped them in a cast. So it is very similar to how you would.
Okay. And when you do give pain meds, is it like synthetic stuff or is it plants, holistic? Where do you get your drugs from and where can I get some? I'm just kidding.
So I would never give you our drugs. Everything is in itself natural. Everything came from a plant. So even your drugs, even if you say it's unnatural, it came from your earth. It is natural in some form. You just completely went down to he said you extracted something specific from it, maybe morphed it with something else, but it is from your planet. You didn't form it out of thin air. He said that, so in ours is natural, but also unnatural in that it may feel like, because we don't use herbs and teas to help rid the pain, because that won't work. He says that it's no different than your kind of pain medication that you guys do and what you guys make, except ours is a lot stronger.
Okay.
It works better.
All right, so I'm combing through the questions again, and I'm just going to ask this one because it's here. What would happen to, I'm going to go with you, with your own race. What would happen if a Pleaidian ate some food from Earth? What would happen to you?
Nothing. Says nothing.
Have you ever tried human food? Have you ever tried cheeseburger?
Not a cheeseburger. I've tried he's trying to think of the name. He's looking at me. He's like, what would you call it was a sandwich? Was there meat in it? Yeah, meat, a green lettuce. Yeah, he's like green fluffies in it. Lettuce.
I can listen to his menu all day.
We should make our own restaurant and call it things that an alien would call it, the Alien Bistro or something like that.
That's what we'll serve at the Stardust event. We're going to have green fluffies.
Green fluffies. Sorry.
A bowl of green fluffies.
A bowl of green fluffies. He's laughing. Okay, so green fluffies. So it's a sandwich. He ate meat. So,
and he didn't die. That was the question. If you eat foreign foods, will you die?
No. My stomach was just fine. It felt very dense. And dense, I don't mean it in your spiritual way where I'm insinuating meat's a low vibrational food that doesn't exist, he says. But I like that you said that. Thank you. I was just talking to Kari.
Right, it's a good segue. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Real quick, on an aside, I think you'd like it. So recently on Facebook, I posted that I was making vegan tacos, and somebody had private messaged me after, some random person I wasn't even friends with, because I made it public or something. And they're like, I'm really happy you're going vegan because eating meat's such a low vibrational food, blah, blah, blah. And I told this individual, I'm not vegan and I'm not just a strict carnivore. I eat whatever I want. And tonight I felt like having vegan tacos. I ate a beef taco after too, because I can eat whatever I want.
Right. I had to giggle when I saw that post too, because I'm like, people are going to get the impression that she's gone vegan, but I know damn well that's not true, because earlier today she told me how much she wants Josh to go get her a cheeseburger.
I also had a cheeseburger that day. So
Yes!
I had everything that day. So no, I'm an omnivore. I eat whatever I want.
So what do you eat then, Dr. Ron? Are you in general a meat eater, or do you prefer the higher vibrational vegetables? I'm just kidding.
He says, I eat air. I am of the most high vibrational.
Oh my goodness.
He's joking.
Air.
He says, no. He's saying, no, I'm not a plant, so I don't have photosynthesis capabilities. But he's saying that I eat mostly vegetables. I don't eat meat at all. I only eat, it's like a delicacy kind of thing. If somebody has
Okay.
like not that we have like a shipment of meat coming in, that's why it's a delicacy. It's like every once in a while there'll be like a meat on board somehow.
Okay.
Somebody will bring it on because we do have some meat eaters on our ship. And so sometimes I'll get curious and I'll just try a bite. No big deal. He says, I'm like you, where I don't limit myself. Not that it's bad to eat just one thing or another, because it could be that's better for your body. You need to listen to it, what it's telling you. He says, emotionally, you may feel better about eating a certain way versus another. So listen to yourself, both consciously. He's saying that, what's that called? When you feel guilt or something, your conscience. Yeah, listen to your conscience and listen to your body and what it's telling you.
Do your people abuse food the way we do?
No.
I'm big in this right now. So you just automatically have good choices.
No, not always. He says, I do on some level enjoy food for the enjoyment of it, but not nearly as much as humans. So it's every once in a while I'll eat. He says, but I do enjoy what I eat when I do eat it. So it's not strictly for fuel. There is some fun in it because it tastes good. But most species don't eat like that. But I would say that's the Pleaidian part of me. Pleaidians are very similar to human, he said.
And I wonder, Heather, if our taste buds are just so much more sensitive because we really do love food. It's awesome.
He said I could look into that.
What do you think? Or
I don't know.
He doesn't know that. Look another day. Okay.
He doesn't know for a fact.
So is food like? Well, okay. That's a reasonable conclusion. It may not be a truth, but because we love food so much and our food's so tasty and flavorful.
He says your food's addictive. There's got to be something in there, some kind of chemical that's making you addicted to it.
God, I bet. And I wonder if it's intentional or not.
I don't think it's intentional. I think he said, I for one don't think humans are as evil as most humans make themselves out to be. I think everything is set out with good intentions. It just gets lost along the way.
That's how I feel. I really do. Even like controversial things. I feel like there's like me, because of who I am, I feel like there's a base of shiny behind everything, and it just gets warped sometimes.
He liked that you said that, a base of shiny behind everything.
I just made that up. I'll use it. All right. Well, Dr. Ron, I've gone through the questions, and I don't know if I got all my questions or not, but this was so interesting. And I'm so pleased that you came through and that I did it. And I wonder if you have anything that you want to add, any parting words of advice or anything.
Be patient with your medical doctors. They're doing everything they can from the knowledge that they have, that they're basing off their decisions from. Your species is learning and growing every day. And he says he's talking strictly about the medical field. He says, I'm sure overall you are growing, of course, as we all are. There's still some things my species is learning and growing about, medically speaking. But it's important to do your due diligence to support your species and not condemn them. Because mistakes are oftentimes made, but it's from those mistakes that you learn the most. You find your solutions. Science is about trial and error. So when something's wrong, don't blame the science of the past. Be thankful that a mistake happened so that you know better for the future.
Look at him. You are so shiny. You are full of silver linings. I love that. All right. Thanks, Dr. Ron.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, ladies, he says.
Okay. Zap me in your ship one day and make a chart. I'll see you then.
Slapping. He says maybe. Strong. I think
that's maybe. A no.
He's telling me, and I'll see you soon. Oh, you're going to see me soon? You're not my doctor, though. No, but now that we've met, next time you come, I'm going to come say hi.
Oh. It's so trippy that you get to go to the spaceships.
Do you know what they did last time? Because I posted this in the group.
Yes! What happened? Go. I want to know. I want to know.
So there's some people who watch our videos that aren't in our Facebook group. And so I posted there an encounter I had not too long ago. I think it was earlier during the week. I think it was on Cinco de Mayo. I have IBS for anyone that doesn't know. And so that means I have stomach issues, stomach pains, and I've been taking medication for it. But I stopped taking it because it causes me to get insomnia, and I don't like that. I like my dreams. I like sleeping. And so I stopped taking it for about 2 weeks, and it'll be my 3rd week now. So it was in 2 weeks when I stopped taking it, when I got taken and was on the same ship that he's talking about where he works. And when I was first entering, it looked like I was outside, but I knew I was inside a building or inside a ship or something. It's kind of like Caesar's Palace when you're in the
beautiful
part where it looks like you're outside, but you're really inside. It was like that. He says, yes, we create the illusion that you're outside because you're on a ship. So
that's so beautiful. Because don't you just feel like spaceships are all like, the Millennium Falcon or the Death Star?
Anyway. So I go inside this black building. It's made out of this black glass. And 2 people were carrying me in there. And then I blacked out. And then I woke up. And I was lying on this hospital bed. And it's a flat bed. It's not like our hospital beds where you're lifted up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I was just flat on my back. And this doctor came in. She looked Indian. Half human, half something else. But I know she wasn't completely human. You could just tell. I don't know how I can tell you. It just her energy felt non-human. And she came in this long white lab coat, long sleeved, and she was holding what looked like a iPad or like a tablet or something. And she was telling me, she didn't even ask me how I was doing. I think because she already knew, like the doctor's not coming, how are you? It's like, well, I'm here obviously because I have a fucking problem. But
she didn't want you sassing her, so she went straight into it.
So she said, you have an obstruction in your intestines that we cleared out. There's still a little bit left, so we're going to go back through it again. I don't remember word for word, but she asked me, what's your diet like? And I told her that, it hasn't been good because it's quarantine. I've been eating like shit and drinking lots of alcohol lately. And so she just nodded her head, and was like, okay. But she wanted to know why my human doctor, she called them human doctors. She said, why haven't your human doctors taken care of this problem? Well, you could have died, she said. And I said, well, they just think everything's the IBS problem. They just kind of,
eat some more yogurt.
So that made her frustrated. The doctor is still here. He's like, yep, sounds familiar. Very frustrated. So then she said that we're going to have to go over it with you again, like go through my intestines again and clear out like everything. She said it was affecting all my organs in my body, from my kidneys, my gallbladder, my liver. And I thought my appendix had bursted or something, because that was the only thing that would make sense to me. And I thought maybe they took it out. And she said, no, we don't take out organs here. And this nurse came in from this area on my left, and I could see her through my peripheral view, but I felt like I wasn't allowed to look at her directly. I was supposed to make eye contact with the doctor. And because whenever you have contact with extraterrestrials, it's like they do this programming on you where it's kind of like you're forced to look in a certain direction.
Okay.
And I think it's to prevent you from
freaking out.
Yeah. So I wasn't supposed to make eye contact with this lady because from my peripheral view, you could clearly see she wasn't human. She looked very different. Okay. So it made sense. And she bent down, was doing something. I think she was injecting me with something or whatever, because I instantly fell asleep. And and when I had woken up again, it felt no different than when you wake up after surgery and you're like groggy and weird. And I thought, if this is a dream, it's weird. I'm waking up tired in my own dream.
Yeah, I'm stoned in my own dream.
Yeah. But this time I was on my belly, and there was that little MRI looking scan thing she had over me. And I started to get up, but she told me, you can't get up. You have to lay on your belly. And I noticed as I was going back down that there was like some white wrappings around me. Like I was wrapped up in my torso area. Anyway, she said, it's important you lay down on your belly while you're healing. And so I was so fucking tired. I just like went back to bed. I went back to sleep. And then I woke up again, and it was just the nurse in there now. And she said that, I was fine to move around if I wanted to. But I woke up that morning and my stomach didn't hurt. And the night before, I had been eating a shit ton of tacos.
Vegan and beef.
Vegan and beef. I also ate potato tacos. I ate a cheeseburger that day. I ate all the hot Cheetos I had left. I drank like a fucking monster.
No hangover. You go, girl.
Yeah, I didn't have a single fucking hangover. Usually when I binge eat like that the next morning because of my IBS, my fucking stomach, everything hurts. It's worth it. But it hurts the next day. And I don't eat that whole day because it's just too painful.
I know.
But I felt fine. Nothing. I just felt so light in my stomach. It felt weird. I haven't been taking my medicine. I haven't needed to.
And you said that your cravings changed too.
My cravings did change. Yes. So I'm craving like, not that.
Quinoa burgers.
Yeah. I'm experimenting with vegetables because I'm not a big fan of them, mainly because I haven't found a recipe that I like.
We're learning.
But I do eat meat still, but it's, but I'm incorporating more vegetables into my diet because, I could eat vegetables still, which I do, but it'll be unhealthy. It'll be like fried green beans or something, and that's not healthy. Yeah, it's green beans, but it's fried.
I know. It's underneath all the crap. There's still a little bean, but still.
Yeah. So I'm learning to eat just healthier overall. So like a chicken breast with a salad or something, just experimenting with my.
And we know how to do it. It's a matter of craving it over something else. That's the big change. So Dr. Ron, what happened how did her cravings change with the removal of this thing? Is that a correlation?
He says that is a correlation. It's a direct correlation. He's saying what had happened was, this is often a major surgery. He considers this a major surgery. He says that this is a major surgery we do on humans. This is like the biggest work we do with them, is with their diet, their stomachs. You have a huge issue with your torso's area. So he says that what happened was after the initial surgery, because we know the root problem is something mental and emotional. That's why you eat the way you do.
Yes.
What we did then is took you over to reprogram the brain a bit.
Fuck, why did she get a cheat sheet?
He's saying that it's just slightly a bit. It's still up to her. It's not like she's being mind controlled, but it makes her it's like changing the way her brain, the chemicals react to certain foods. So now we made it so she craves more healthier things. So her brain wants it. She gets a reward system out of it. So more as she got a reward system out of the junk food, she gets equally the biggest reward system on the healthy food. So it's balanced more. So that's what happened. And he knows that, yes, you guys have done this to me before. So they've done this with me before. He says that it eventually levels itself out, but it's kind of like it gives you a boost into a new form of diet that you actually want to have and want to take in. They've done this to me before with taking out an ulcer out of my stomach. And they I woke up and I wanted to change everything all of a sudden.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this prompted me to ask another question that I forgot. I like to make it all about me. I'm still trying to understand, and Magenta really helped me get in a new way. I say the mind, body, soul, we're all connected, but I'm still trying to understand. Can you answer this question, Dr. Ron? If I had these two surgeries in my gut area, is it the truth that those affected my energetic solar plexus chakra? Is that why it's still in a place of healing? Because the surgeries
This is
changed
definitely,
them
yes.
in some way.
Definitely, it would alter the state of being for your energetic being, he says, for a limited time. For a limited time offer.
Well, that's another question. How long is there a general rule of
He
thumb about
says
how long a chakra heals?
No, that's entirely dependent on the person, just like a physical healing's dependent.
Okay.
The healing process is dependent on the person. And the same thing with the energetic body. It's the same thing, he says.
Okay. So still got it in there. It's still
You have
a chunk.
He's saying that there could be something else going on, maybe an after effect of some type, that I would look into, he said, but it takes a longer period of time for energy to heal than it does physically. Your physical heals so much faster.
Interesting. See, I didn't know that either. Because that's one of the biggest message I get from spirit. Be patient, be patient. Because I'm like, I want to be better right now. What kind of spiritual work can I do to fix myself today? And they're like, it's not like that. It actually needs time to heal.
Yeah. Says you do need time, and it heals over time. So don't use it as a basis to keep yourself back. He said just keep living your life and it'll follow.
Okay. I have found a little bit of peace with that. I really have. And I think that was the point too, is I'm in such a hurry. I don't want to be overweight. I want to lose weight. And now that I've finally understood that I'm at this weight for a reason, and I'll talk about that in Silver Linings in a couple episodes, but because I get the reason why, I've given myself so much more patience and compassion instead of hating myself. So it doesn't mean I'm comfortable in the skin, but it does mean that I don't have to hate myself for not getting out of it faster. So that was just a little personal bonus commentary. Okay, I think on that though, I am going to wrap up. Did you get your information about your space surgery? Your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us this afternoon.
So thank you for having me again.
All right. Say hi to all your friends back on the spaceship.
That's okay.
All right.
I'm tired. Oh, before we leave, first,
yes.
You do energy healings.
I do.
So you should book an energy healing.
You should.
I might get one too.
You should. But if you are interested in an energy healing, you can go to my website, silverlininghealings.com, or just message me through Messenger or email. There's all kinds of ways to connect with me. And I love doing it. So hit me up. And H, what are you doing these days? I saw one of your posts recently.
Yeah, I changed my business hours only because I'm going to be doing babysitting throughout the summer break. So that's the only difference. I'm also offering email readings now. So you can ask up to 5 questions and it's like $10 per question. Let's see. But that's it. I'm also I have about 5 spots left for my channeling course this summer. Classes start June 6th. So if you want to sign up for that, go ahead and do so. I notice some people don't like to learn to channel. They like to just be given a reading. And I'm always like about empowerment. I'm like, you could definitely fucking do this yourself. So many people are like, I wish I could channel like so-and-so or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you definitely can. In fact, you may even be able to do it better, but you just don't know yet.
It is so hard to find that place. And, and speaking from experience, I want to do it just like Heather, because that's what I see. That's, and that's the description I get, but it's such an individual thing. Mine just comes in a form of what I call my epiphanies, but that's the channeling. That's what I'm doing. That's when Magenta, I'm plugged in. I get those drop-ins when I'm plugged in. So I'm learning my own style of channeling, but it is a challenge. So
that's exactly how I teach. I teach you to your own unique style because everyone's different. No one's going to channel like me or like you or like anyone else. So it's all going to be relative. And I really hope people want to learn more, because then you don't have to ask and pay for a reading over and over and over again. You would
let me tell you,
more money.
You're going to save money, and that's a big motivator for me because I'm so frugal. But you know what it is, and I'm good. And this is the next episode coming up. I might even record it right after this. I've already done it once, but I was really pissed off. So I was like growling and screaming. But the guides, well, I don't know if this is a universal truth, but in my case, I requested wanting to learn how to channel for myself. So I've been going through a couple years now of getting misinformation here and there. And so now I'm at a place where I don't want your damn message, H, because they may or may not give me a truth. So they've really pushed me into wanting to get my own messages, rely on myself. And it is a spiritual path of not being dependent on others and the self-empowerment. So for me, my motivation is not necessarily to save money or any of that. It's that I want the truth.
Right.
And they're not going to give it to me anymore because this is a path that I've chosen for myself. So I don't mean to imply that all of your guides are going to lie to you all the time or, find their little loopholes. That's just what you needed. That's what I needed. But it's a good motivator and it still will apply to others. Self-empowerment, trust yourself. And this is a way to get there is through a class like this.
Yeah. I didn't have a class. I didn't have anyone to help me. So I was taught through spirit, which is very hard to do when you don't even know how to channel. I went from somebody who completely closed off, didn't know what the fuck channeling was, to doing what I'm doing now. So if someone like me can do it, anyone can do it because I'm not that special, honestly.
And she's not, but I'm just kidding. But I'm just kidding.
Fuck me.
But see, I've been on this journey as long as she has, more or less. And I'm not where she's at. And that's okay because I have a different path. So don't beat yourself up because, I can see, well, I want to be just like Heather and I can't because I'm not good enough.
Don't be like me.
Don't be, don't beat yourself up because you're going to get there in your own time, in your own way.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
All
so
right.
It's a lot of inner growth too. Just wanted to add that bit in there before we wrap up. A lot of people don't realize learning to channel is not just learning to hear. If you want to get up to that point where you can hear spirit, you're going to have to do a lot of inner work and it's going to get nasty. So
I'm here to attest to that.
So there you go.
All right. So come find silver linings soon. You'll find out why I got so mad at them.
You know what I just realized? I'm wearing a Kaiser shirt and we're talking to a doctor today.
That's funny. I almost wore white to give the impression of a nurse, but it wasn't going to work.
All right.
All right, Sissy Pants. I love you. Thank you for helping me grow and encouraging me to do this, the pre-part all by my lonesome. I knew you weren't going to give me any answers. So you're like, you do it, girl. You got this. And I did it. All right. I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.